Welcome to the chapter 270 review. This is going to be the second to last time we get to hear this, so make sure you cherish it. So this chapter, I still think that these last three chapters are all one big epilogue, so I'm still not going to have too many thoughts to share about it. This just serves to wrap up more of the character's story, and I do like that this chapter was primarily side characters, but it opened up with Megami and closed with Megami, so it felt like there was a lot of gravity to it anyway. I'm also very satisfied with the conclusion of all the side characters. If this is the last time we're going to see them, I think we'll still see Higuruma in the next chapter. I think there's really a chance, but the rest of them, I think they're gone for good. There's just a lot to talk about in this chapter regardless, so, as I bring the spectacle, animate the chapter, whatever, I'll be talking about certain things that I like about it, don't like about it, observations, whatever. And since I value the time both you and I, let's just get into the chapter. So the chapter opens up with Shoko and Megami at Sumiki's grave. We see the big old Fushiguro over the gravestone, and Megami tells her thank you, and she says don't worry about it. Even if all that's left is cremation, it's worth it to make them feel nice. My actions helping her feel pretty in the afterlife is all the things that I need. And then she goes on to say that Gojo should have let her handle Geto's body too. She does call Gojo an idiot, so Megami's like, you can say that again. But Shoko interrupts and kills his mood by saying, I don't believe in an afterlife anyway. As the two walk away from the grave, Megami gets a call to head somewhere, I think it's to his next mission, and he leaves Shoko behind. She waves bye, but she looks at her cigarette, and since she wasn't able to light it before, she just looks at it and throws it out. If you didn't notice, Shoko's like in a very happy, good mood. Like her character's basically reached the end. She doesn't smoke anymore. If you remember, she quitted smoking, but then she picked it back up when Gojo was fighting Sukuna because she was so stressed about the fight and Gojo potentially losing. But then she quit again. She's just in a good state. She looks pretty relaxed too. She looks nice, so it's good to see her like happy. Because if you really think about it, Shoko really does have one of the saddest lives in JJK. So I do wish her all the best. We move on from this to Gakuganji, Utahime, and Nita speaking about the remains of Tengen. And this to me is the most important detail that they could have possibly given us in the epilogue of the story. So Gakuganji says that Master Tengen was found among Sukuna's remains after he was torn from Megami's body. So what does this mean about the barriers around Japan? Remember guys, if these barriers are down, cursed energy and cursed spirits will no longer be contained to just Japan, where only sorcerers can handle the cursed spirits. This is why I said that Tengen's existence was so important to the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. If these cursed spirits get out to other countries, they're going to be blindsided by cursed spirits and torn apart and destroyed. There's no sorcerers out there either, so the whole world is basically going to get torn apart. But thankfully, they're going to be in place until Sukuna's remnants are completely gone. An ironic fate for the man who said that the weak do not deserve to live. Utahime and Nita want to put in countermeasures for this, right? Because Sukuna's remnants are not going to be there forever. But Gakuganji says that there's no need to be hasty about this because everyone's still young. To me, this is the biggest indicator of part 2 being a true possibility. Last week, I was like, I don't see it. This week, now I'm like, yeah. The way I'm taking this is, Geige's gonna have these remnants go away, the barriers are gonna go down, and we're gonna follow a whole different cast like 60 years into the future in another country. That's the only way I can see a part 2 happening. Let me know if y'all watching 100 Kaisen though. But hey, we're gonna find out next week. So we move on from this scene and we see Kamo hanging out with his little brother, his mother, and stepfather. There's Kamo, guys. Everybody thought he just disappeared. I never understood his plan because no matter what, if Sukuna won, he'd have to fight Sukuna. So I don't know why bro didn't help Sukuna with everybody else, but hey, it worked out in his favor. And after we see this little scene of Kamo, Gakuganji comes back and says that you don't need to worry about this yet. I don't know if Kamo's connected to this scene. I mean, Kamo is probably the most powerful person in Jujutsu society currently in terms of politics, so maybe it's going to be up to him and his decision making, we'll see. We cut to Maki and she's giving a katana to Daido before she sees him and Mio off. She explains to them that Since the culling game has ended, they're gonna try and figure out what to do with incarnated sorcerers such as yourself. And seeing as Megami came back alive, they're gonna have Yuji and Hana remove the cursed objects from the victims' bodies. So Maki's just saying that, like, yeah, what we're probably gonna end up doing is taking you guys out of your host bodies, so you know, they can come back because it's rightfully their bodies. But first, there are culling game players who were stolen by the American military, so they're gonna have to head out to America and get those sorcerers back, and then they're gonna come back and deal with you guys. We can't just let you guys go because you're friendly and not evil. We still have like a justice to follow. There's still certain laws of the world that we need to follow and fix. But you didn't hear it from me. Since they went public saying that cursed spirits are a Tokyo exclusive phenomenon, even with the culling game finished, that would be a safe zone, because curses throughout Japan are sure to keep gathering there. And if I were you guys, that's where I'd hide out. And Daido's like, okay, yeah, there's no shortage of beasts to slice open. He says beast because, guys, remember, he doesn't know what cursed energy is. He's just a guy with a blade that can hang out with the strongest special grade curse in the series. I don't know how, but there's a reason why Gege hid this guy until now. And Mio says that I don't want to go over there because Sumo with cursed spirits doesn't sound fun. But Maki's like, do whatever you want, but just know this is the last time I'm going to be watching your guys back. Now get out of here. Daido says to Maki, when it's time to come give me the axe, you'd better be there, because I'll be sure to cut you down. And Maki laughs, accepting the invitation. And Mio just leaves the area, going the same way Maki's going, I don't know. Daido's conclusion is actually peak in my opinion. I love it. I think it's just perfect for the role and character that he played. And Mio, on the other hand, he's just whatever. I don't care that much for him. So we go on to Charles, and Charles speaking back to an editor. He says that magazines should remain physical. Seeing a manuscript in print can provide valuable feedback for the author. Newcomers ought to have their work printed next to a veteran author's at least once. And I think this is the editor saying you have a bitter tale to tell there, don't you? But Charles just says, I'm a manga artist whose art sucks. And I think this is a callback to when he met Hakari. The editor says, you better hurry because the print shop won't wait around for some newbies one shot. And Charles is like, they don't wait around for the pros either. Now we move on from Charles to Takaba. He says, listen, it's fine for you to have your fare of dirty jokes, but we need to hold off on the S3X jokes. Sure, we're doing some inappropriate material, but it's about number 1 and number 2 on the toilet. And Kenjaku, well, the Kenjaku lookalike is like, isn't that the same thing? And Takaba says, like I've been saying, they're completely different. Are you even listening? And he's like, whatever, man. Let's just go rehearse some new things. And Kenjaku says, don't say that in public. And Takaba's like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, you think rehearse is some kind of dirty word? And we end off the Takaba scene there and enter the Amai Ren scene. Amai gets to somebody and he sees them in public. The person's like, what do you want? And we see a flashback of Amai bullying this person in the past. I do think this was around the time that like Yuji beat up Amai's friends and he became scared of Yuji because of that reason and all that. But he goes on to apologize to this person and they just look down on him and completely walk away. He looks up and says, well, that figures. I just wanted to fix things. And Amai's scene ends with him just crouching on the ground, kind of sad and embarrassed that he wasn't forgiven. We now cut to Higuruma and his old coworker telling him that they're not going to prosecute. And Higuruma is saying that it's likely pressure from the top brass because I hear that they're going to work me to the bone as a sorcerer. And yes, as the next Satoru Gojo, they're going to do anything in their power to get him in their possession. She says forgive me because what's left is a retrial. On behalf of the bereaved, as their attorney, I'll be sure to really nail you, Higuruma. And Higuruma just sighs saying, I'm counting on it. You know that he feels super guilty for what he did, so he's probably hoping that he gets prosecuted. But yeah, they're probably gonna just get that over with. Higuruma's gonna become rich. He's gonna be like, again, the next Satoru Gojo. He's definitely gonna be a special grade sorcerer. He'll be more than fine. We move on from Higuruma to Angel. And Angel saying that Sukuna striking me as he did would have to mean that Fushiguro's Megamis regarding you have already been unearthed, Hana. And I think this is saying when Sukuna bit off Hana's arm, he did like the whole "I am your knight in shining armor, Hana, please come and save me." You remember whatever he said? He played to her memory, so obviously like now Megami's gonna remember what Sukuna did, and he's gonna piece it all together that him and Hana have a past. And as Angel puts this all together, she's asking Hana like, why are you embarrassed at this point if Megami already knows? But Megami walks up to Hana as Angel's saying this, and Hana tells Angel to shut up. And Megami's just staring at Hana and remembers what Sukuna did in his body. So he says that he wants to take responsibility for his actions. So he asks Hana if he could be her right hand from here on out. And she's like excited. She asks him if she's hearing wedding bells. And I think Megami kinda meant this, but he didn't, because he ends up stuttering a lot, saying, "That's not what I meant, but now I've got a mission, so I'll talk to you later." Like he's pausing in between every 2 to 3 words. So I do think that he probably does like her, but he wasn't even saying it in that way, but that caught him off guard. Moving on from this scene, yeah, there's a lot of different scenes in this chapter, guys. They're really trying to wrap up the story. But we finally get to see what this mission's gonna be about. As this girl gets home from her job, she starts to yell at her boyfriend about leaving the hallway light on. And she asks him like, "Do you want to go out to eat tonight?" And as he's playing on his phone, he's not looking at her, but he turns around and says, "How about yakiniku?" And his face is just all messed up. Like it looks extremely weird, as you can see here. And this is when we see Ichiji speak about the 26-year-old male, Fukuzawa Sota, who is the victim of this curse user. According to his fiance, his face began to look as though it were morphing as of 2 weeks ago. We then see our original trio, Megami, Nobara, and Yuji, and Megami says that his face doesn't look morphed to him, whereas Yuji's like, I mean, he just looks like a dude who's trying to be a pro wrestler. And Nobara's staring at this picture here for a reason. Yuji starts to like chill with the dude, saying, "You're ripped, man, what's your secret?" And the guy's like, "I wrestled till high school." And Nobara's got this face of shock, I don't know why. Maybe it's because Yuji's already distracted and BSing around. Megami gets everybody back on focus and says, apparently, this is how your fiance is seeing you, which means the one who's actually cursed is her. Megami then cues for Nobara to grab the lady and take her for a physical, maybe at Jujutsu Tech, to get a better idea of what's going on. And this is when we just see Yuji and Megami begin to have one final conversation before the chapter ends. Megami says that the residue here is only enough to just cause an icky feeling, as Ichiji said. There's a very low chance that this is a cursed spirit at work. Yuji's like, "You think?" Megami says that no cursed spirit is possessing her, and the residue is only enough to cause slight emotional unrest. This is more than likely the work of a cursed user, and I don't even sense any intent to kill. It could just be an awakened player that made it through the culling game. But we do know semi-first grade cursed spirits do possess free will, so they can hold back. And we've seen emulations increase the number of victims, like at Yasuhachi Bridge, so we can't fully rule out the possibility of a cursed spirit. Yuji just says, "So this is basically just some cursed user harassment, right? That's gonna be a piece of cake for us 3. And the editor's notes say, next up, the final chapter, as the gun fires for the final mission. With that, the chapter ends. So I'm gonna be honest, guys, yeah, I'm on the boat for a part 2 happening. Last week I was like 5% chance. Now I can't really see it, but it's gonna have to be indirect. It's gonna have to be like 50 years in the future. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be Yuji again. I think Yuji has enough story, characterization. Yuji's story is over. Interestingly enough, in a most recent interview, Gege would state something like, for the next story that I write, it is going to be more character focused too. Do y'all think Yuji needs any more focus? Nah, I don't think so. So if there is a part 2, I think it's gonna be like after these characters are gone. Gege definitely knew what he was doing with the fake Kenjaku Takaba scene. I really wonder about that. Like it's so interesting. But given the nature of Takaba's ability and the kind of character he is, I think there's no point, you know, like it could literally be anything. Lastly, I do think that this final mission is going to be something stupid. I don't think anything serious is going to come out of this. And speaking of Kenjaku, Kenjaku put Uro in the calling game because Uro wanted a second chance at life. So when I really think about Uro as a character and how she's going to react to like Maki and people hunting her down, I do think that they're going to have to fight her, and they're going to have to like really fight her. She's not going down without a fight. So I do wish that we got to see that. I doubt we will. And about Remy, you know, the girl, the Scorpion Hero girl that betrayed Megami, she's with American Soldier. So if you ever wondered what happened to her, for like the 3 viewers of JJK that care, yeah, that she's with them. She's gonna be saved by Maki and Co. And I guess that's where her story ends. About this final mission, my expectations are low. I don't think it's gonna be anything really serious. Like, I've watched enough Mob Psycho to know that this is just gonna be some jealous ex-boyfriend who is doing this. Like, it's just gonna be something completely stupid, and they'll finish this little plot point in 5 pages in the next chapter. With that said, that's about all my thoughts on this week's chapter. Next week is gonna be like a super review, so don't expect that to come out the same time. It's gonna be like 35 minutes long, guys. It's gonna be double the pages, so I gotta do double the editing, you know, double the effects, double the review. So it's gonna be like a super review. And plus, I have to give my actual thoughts on the epilogue as a whole. I know a lot of you guys have been commenting about that. Like, I can't wait to see you give your epilogue thoughts as a whole, since you really won't do much for these 2 chapters. So yeah, expect a nice little movie you can sit down and watch in about a week or a week and a half. But again, throughout this whole journey of Jujutsu Kaisen, you guys have really supported me in the channel, so I have to give thanks. It means the world to me. And I'll catch you guys next week for the final chapter, man. Thank you guys so much. Peace out.